2.5 days in October, I think it was, locked into a boardroom at a hotel, and Brokers Alliance we spent 2.5 days, all the managers, and we literally flew over Brokers Alliance looking for the holes. You know, how can we be better? And sometimes there's things that we were good at, but we always say, how can we make them better? And so we spent this whole, we called it meeting of the minds, and I mean, it was, how many hours, Dave, that we were in there?
2.5 days, each day about 9 hours, almost 10 hours a day.
Early in the morning, brought lunch in, and we just had our topics. And so we had 2011 set. We were done, man. We were on target. We knew exactly where we were going to go. And then, poof. We were introduced to a fellow by the name of Steve Snyder. And strictly by accident. And that's why I said I'd rather be lucky than good. And I don't know what it was, but there was for me, it was instant. I knew exactly how we were going to work together. And it's funny because we were doing the conversations for a while, and David set up a dinner at 3, and I don't know, a couple weeks later or whatever, Steve and I were talking, and he's kind of telling what he does. I said, oh, I said, you had me at the brief. Just what he told me there, I said I knew that he was going to be an integral part in the Brokers Alliance.
Fortunately, that was a 50% write-off. We didn't realize that there were, we could do our gift cards.
But I think we did send him a 1099 for...
Right.
So, Steve he's brought, we're pretty energetic, but he brought another level of energy and sophistication and knowledge to Brokers Alliance. We're doing some really, really neat, fun stuff. And so, rather than continue to go on, I'd like to introduce you to Steve Snyder. I don't even know what your title is, but it's pretty good. What's your title?
My title today is Tax-Free Income That's Really Tax-Free.
There you go. Steve Snyder.
Thank you. Well, this morning, I'm going to take you into my land, a place where you can make serious money. I never have taught over the last 29 years I've been in the business, and especially the last 17, I don't bring anything to the table that can't have immediate impact on your practice and be huge and define you and cut you out of the pack to make you distinctive. Is that a good intro? But before I go, I have math on my. Now, how many of you know Rule 72? How many know Rule of 115? Really? Only a couple? That's how money triples. Rule of 224? I could go on. But let me show you how I do math. The Jesuit way. Let's go to the board. If you had to do this in your head, could you do it? In your head?
Yes.
Could you? What's the answer then? Oh, see, you can't do it in your head. Let's do it the long way. 5 times 5 is?
25.
5 times 4 is?
42.
Carry the what?
2. 42.
8 times 5?
48.
8 times 8?
64.
Plus the?
68.
Help me?
5. 2.
Is that the answer? You're sure? 100 years ago, on chalkboard and slate, our forefathers and mothers did this exact problem this way, and I'm going to change color just to kind of get some nice colors in this show. Let's do the same exact formula again. What's 8 times 5? Or 8 times 5, yes.
40.
And 5 times 5.
25.
And 8 times 8.
64.
And 8 times 5.
40.
What's the number in this triangle?
5.
Who said 7? What's the number in the total in this trapezoid?
2.
What's the number in this trapezoid?
12.
What is it?
12.
Carry the 1. What's 1 and 6?
7.
That is the answer. You ready? Now, I've taught you the way we learned it, the way our forefathers and mothers learned it? Put your pens down. I'm going to show you how to do this in your head. I can feel the skepticism rolling off the audience. Let's do the easy one. 85 squared. 5 times 5 is?
25.
Park it. 8 times 8 is?
64.
Plus 8 is?
72.
What's the number over here?
25.
Let's do another one. I can feel the doubt. 75 squared. 5 times 5 is?
25.
7 times 7 is?
40.
Plus 7 is?
56. 56, 25.
How hard is this? I'm asking, how hard is this? I've just showed you a third way to skin the cat. The way you used to learn it, the way our forefathers and mothers learned it. I've showed you a third way to do it in your head. Let's do it a fourth way in your head. And you're doing so good, let's skip a step. Women actually have a little advantage here because they actually have a synaptic pathway between the two hemispheres, whereas guys, we don't have this bridge, the bridge that leads to nowhere. So when my wife of 37 years says, how come you can't do multiple things? I said, I can't. It's genetic. Get off my back. Let's do it. Ready? Let's go. 85 squared. 5 times 5 is?
25.
All right. What's the next number after 8?
9.
9 times 8 is?
72.
72.25. Everybody there?
Yeah, let's do that again.
How?
We're men.
We're taking Mr. Pencil in our head, right? Let's do it again. 85 squared. 5 times 5 is?
25.
The next number after 8 is?
9.
9 times 8 is?
72.
How hard is this?
So it's always one number above the number.
Well, in that formula, everything I gave you is the formula for zeros and fives. If you want 1s, 3s, 7s, and 9s, and 2, 4, 6s, and 8s, it's all different. Small caveat. Now, Joe, you don't mind me telling these people what I do on the weekends?
No, not at all.
Some men and women golf. Some people go out and have a hobby. I teach financial budgeting to maximum security men and women who are getting out after doing serious time in prison. I do it at the federal level, the state level, and I do it at Sheriff Joe's, as you heard about Sheriff Joe, his notorious jails, and I've been at every one, including Supermax on the 4th floor on 4th Avenue. Here, one day I was teaching basic math at prison, and remember who's my audience?
Prisoners.
And how up the food chain am I on security? Maximum security. These are yards with women who could break me in half. Tats that look like they just came straight out of Steven Spielberg's King's mind, okay? I was teaching a basic premise based on a crime committed to try to relate to the inmates.
Know your audience.
Know your audience. Oh, yes. I've also learned not to speak Spanish on a Spanish yard if you don't know what you're doing. That's it.
See.
The gentleman who designed the crime, who created it, funded it, recruited everybody involved, says I deserve 75% of the take because I quarterbacked the entire crime. You other 5 gentlemen will have to split the 25%. One will be a wheelman, one will be a lookout, whatever their duties were. But because I did all the major brain power to this, I'm getting the 75. Everybody with me? I, thinking I was doing this correctly, said that means that if there's 5 people, what do they get?
5%.
5%. That's what I said. And one of the inmates raised his hand and said, "Excuse me, Mr. Steve." Mr. Steve. "Excuse me, Mr. Steve. I think you're shorting the brothers." I said, "Well, I don't know. Let me look here. 5, 10, 5. No, that's right." He goes, "May I show you where you're aired?" And I said, "Oh, please do." I handed him the marker. He walked in, cup up in his chains, short step in it, and he goes just like this. And he looks to me and he goes, 5 into 2? Can't do that, right? 5 into 5 is what?
1.
5 subtract 25 is?
0.
5 subtract 25 is? I said 0. Is that, I hope that was an
5 from 5 is 0.
Okay, but
25
that's
from 5 is what?
20.
4 into 20 is?
4.
It's 14%. He said, let's check our work. I love that. Let's check our work, right? So 14, 5 times 4 is?
20.
5 times 5 is? 1 is?
5.
25?
You've been watching Bob Pocket.
Abbott and Costello.
Are you ready?
Famous
He says,
$28.
let's check our work and see if I'm still wrong. So he goes like this. Help me. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. By the way, this is a great icebreaker. If you do retail seminars, this is excellent material. Would you not agree?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, start off with rule of 72 and 15, and then go through some of these gyrations. I have other ones if you want to see them. And this is just a basic concept. Now, we have the good Dr. Bassi in here today, and how many appreciated him? I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, how many here right now can take out of here, especially today's show, how many things you said, I can do that for my own personal practice?
Oh, yeah.
My own now, how many know I'm going to a client with the information I heard? Look at this. So was it worth having him here for 90 minutes?
Absolutely.
Was it worth paying the fee?
Absolutely.
Okay, just checking it out. Now, we're trying to talk him into moving here, so I'm just like,
That's right.
all right.
Trying to get him to come to Detroit. Don't we move?
The first part of my presentation, tax-free income that's really tax-free is really tax-free. I know you think you know. Let me see if you know. If it was a modified endowment contract, what kind of taxable event would it be? If it was a modified endowment contract.
Ordinary.
Ordinary income. And we know that if it came out taxable, you would never pay capital gain. Is that correct?
True.
Everybody with me? All right. And would you ever pay AMT? The alternative minimum tax. Is life insurance a preference item under the code?
No.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Let's just stop for a second. Anybody, do we ever have to worry about, does insurance have to ever worry about phantom income tax? Do we ever have to worry about it?
No.
Sure. Any policy, you know everybody's dialing down their long-term endowment dates now? You know you can dial your own endowment? How many know that we actually go to age 121 on contractual law? American General is illustrating 130. I mean, can you believe this? If you ever thought we were in the middle of Methuselah marketing, this is the time. I mean, think of this. In the 20th century, listen, 500 death claims happened and occurred at second to die. That's every carrier all in. Listen, 500 claims. Males die, according to the tables, a year either side. We are the most predictable of genders. But the woman, oh no. She decides to blow past the actuarial tables, and when you go to 64th Street in Greenway and visit the geriatrics over there, it's 9-to-1 females to male. Remember that old song, Jan and Dean, 2 girls for every boy? 9-to-1. I just want to know just why ag will work when you're in your 90s. Yeah, it could be. A modified endowment contract, but a non-modified, if it's really non-MEC, you should not ever experience ordinary gain. But I got a question for you. Listen, if the maturity date of that contract, what if the client does the dumb thing and lives to the maturity date? All policy loans that he took constructive receipt of will be a taxable event. If he's not dead by then, he'll want to be. Because not only does he pay an ordinary income tax on all the policy loans he took constructive receipt on, but did he ever pay the interest on those loans? No, because you told him not to. By the way, you told him he didn't have to.
You told us not to.
I told you on camera, you should have told him. I've been telling you that for 29 years. That was brought to you by my E&O policy. Oh, yes. And that means that I looked at this case, the attorney sends it to me and he says, I need an in-force ledger on my 94-year-old. I'm doing a 1035 to any company that'll take it at 95. And I went like this. No can do. Two issues. One, I don't got anybody that's doing individual cases at 95. And number two, I don't even think your client can pass a physical even if we had a carrier that would do it, right? So I said, whatever it is, send me the in-force ledger. He sends it to me and I said, you have a $290,000 in policy loans. It'll be a taxable event in 6 months unless this guy goes down. You can tell I've been influenced a little bit by prison. We don't say, at Brokers Alliance, we don't say decline. We go, that guy was DOA. We don't shake hands. And then, if you're on the yard and you're doing max, you do this, bro. I'm just trying to, a kinder, gentler, and more hip society. Then I looked at, I said, I need the in-force ledger from the mutual company who uses direct recognition loans. They sent it to me and I said, I'm so sorry, but not only do you have a taxable event on your $290,000 you took constructive receipt, but you have a taxable event of 150 grand on the inside because it costs the guy 350 basis points every year, accum, right? And your taxable event's gonna be like $500,000. Are you there?
That should have killed him right there.
That should have killed him right there. And then he said, what do I do? There's a guy in Detroit, his name is Dr. Kevorkian. Make the call. Or this, if you love your family, you will make the call.
Yeah. He stopped right.
That's phantom income. Phantom income. Better be careful. Make sure that if you're dialing your mortality, oh, field force that you are, remember, they're not dialing it, you're telling them, right? Just do it to 95. Just do it to 100. Listen, the 2001 CSO standard table, this isn't even all the areas of preferred. Standard table has the male going down at 85 now. Females at 89. That does not reflect the 2008 Society of Actuaries, right? VBT tables that they use for life settlements, right? Valuation-based tables and the relative risk, which pushes mom at standard into her 90s. I mean, are you ready for everybody to join George Burns' 100 Club, the Centurion Club? I mean, this is what we're looking at. So when you look at a maturity date, it better be in blood in the contract. And if that client does the dumb thing, it better have an extension ability to go as far out as he needs to go out. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
Or you could have what? Now, I was teaching at the CPA Society. There's about a handful of us. We're the only ones, only non-CPAs that teach at the Society here in Arizona. I'm one of them. I was teaching on some of the things we're talking about now, and somebody raised their hand and says, excuse me, Steve, isn't life insurance a preference item? And I'm here, Steve. Oil and gas, oil and gas depletion allowance. I'm going through my mind, and I go, oh. For corporations that have life insurance inside of C Corp, and those proceeds come into the, yes, that could, it may not be, but it could be, subject to the AMT. But a non-modified endowment contract, taking out withdrawals to basis and policy loans to gain, keeping the policy in force for the life of the client, will never experience that because we're not subject to that portion of the preference law under the code. When I talk about all in, I'm talking about what? All in. So we'll never experience phantom income, and we won't be a preference item. By the way, is some municipal bonds a preference item as it relates to calculating your Social Security?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now listen, a lot of people compare municipal bonds, right, with life insurance. And some municipal bonds will be calculated for the AMT, and their income will be calculated for the provisional income test. When I talk about my tax-free, not subject to the preference item, and on top of that, listen, why do we talk about life insurance as a supplemental income, as a retirement issue, and you never bring in the Social Security calculation? I don't know why you don't do that. It's all in. Everybody getting this? Here, new phrase. Ready? Repeat after me. Net. Net.
Net.
Spendable.
Spendable.
Income.
Income.
What does net mean? After every tax has been calculated. By the way, interesting note, capital gains. What's the capital gain rate? But if you're a geriatric plan taking Social Security, your gain, even though it's capital gain, and you did pay 50% on that block of gain, right? But that gain is still pushed over to your Social Security to test if your benefit gets taxed. Are you with me? So the last case I looked at, I took his 15 plus what he lost, which was all taxable on his benefit. That thing was right there, a penny below his ordinary income tax. Are you hearing this? If you talk about retirement and you're using non-modified endowment contracts for tax-free income, using withdrawals to basis and or policy loans to gain, and you keep the contract in force, I'm never going to experience any of these issues. Everything that impacts Social Security, by the way, does a qualified plan income impact Social Security benefits being taxed or not?
Yes.
Mine won't. Does some municipal bonds cause your Social Security to get taxed?
Yes.
Yes, mine won't. Are you guys getting into this now? It's not just ordinary income tax, it's all these things we're hitting. Does this make sense? When you walk in there and say, I talk about tax-free, I'm talking about a montage, I'm talking about a menu of tax advantages that covers every part of the code. This is why I want you to kind of get the grip of this. It's a total net, all-in statement. Everybody okay with this?
Yeah.
Are you breathing? Are you breathing? Gasping for breath? I can feel it. You're sucking the air right out of the room. By the way, will I have any penalties for taking this out before 59 and a half?
No.
If I do this correctly, can I send the net proceeds that I don't use to any beneficiary? So I don't have any death transfer tax on this money, is that correct?
That's right.
If you want Uncle Sam to go on a diet, those are the 7 areas of tax that my deal will never worry about. You want him to go on a diet? Do my way. We will starve him to death. He's getting a little paunchy. Did you see the last picture of Uncle Sam? Some guy did in a paper. He looked like he was in his 2nd trimester of his pregnancy. Nothing was like front and center. That wasn't political. That was economic. Everybody okay with this?
Yep.
Any questions? I don't want to go on until we cover this. Talk to me. Got it? Am I that good?
Yes, you are.
Roll the tape. That was bonus time. Okay. Now, let's just talk about one little area. This is called timeline theology. The 1987 Technical Corrections Act. Now, don't memorize any of this. I don't. But the first 15 years, that act covers what's called the force-out rule. How many have ever heard of this rule, the force-out rule? Raise your hand. I want to see who knows what this is. Oh my gosh, seriously? Not one person in here? We are now in E&O land. The top 3 E&O cases right now in the United States are right here on this issue. Can you take withdrawals to basis after 6/21/88 when they installed TAMRA? By the way, remember the 3 Acts? How many have been at least in the business? Let's see, I got to go back to August of 82. Who's been in the business since August of 82? You guys are old bucks. I mean, think about that. You see that fountain out there? That's Ponce de Leon's Fountain of Youth. I'm actually 65. Joe's 75, and Dr. Bassie's 100.
FIFO, baby, FIFO.
We've been dipping in there ever since we come to Fountain Hills. David's 18.
Forget the beard.
Man, I gotta come out here.
We only put it on after doing a little Miracle Grow. I switched his Old Spice out. First 15 years, if you have gain in your contract and you withdraw to basis, you will have a taxable event. There is an exclusion to this. There's an exclusion. Whole life dividends are still treated differently. Okay, just to keep in mind. The 3 acts that you need to know is TEFRA in 82, because we went from, remember, we went from in 1982 in annuities. We used to take, right, FIFO, now we're on LIFO, right? Then we had to go to DEFRA in '86, right? Now we did, for you young people, listen to this. Our cash values used to exceed our death benefit. Are you crazy?
Yes.
I love that. Everything over the line was a taxable event, but everything under was okay, right? But they changed that rule. Now you have to have a corridor, a cap of insurance, right? A little corridor above the line. So we had DEFRA, TEFRA, and then they brought TAMRA online because we were so creative back in the late 80s. And they finally said no more single deposits. If it's a single deposit, it's treated just like everybody there. So you have TEFRA, DEFRA, and TAMRA. Say it with me. TEFRA, DEFRA, and TAMRA. Oh my. TEFRA, DEFRA, and TAMRA. Those are the three daughters of Uncle Sam in IRS, right? They had three ugly daughters, DEFRA, TEFRA, TAMRA. If you have gained during the first 15 years, right, you will pay ordinary income tax on any UL contract, whether it's VUL, IUL, current assumption UL, guaranteed UL, it doesn't matter what it is, if it's got gain in the contract. Of course, one of my attendees the other day said, well, Steve, if that's true, I don't worry about it because I don't have any gain in my contract. Listen, dude, if you don't have any gain in your contract after 15 years, you bought the wrong contract. I mean, can you imagine celebrating, I don't have gain? What are you thinking, okay? The first 15 years. So what am I going to do to circumvent that? I'm going to take policy loans, right? By the way, if I take policy loans, what type of policy loans are there? Zero net. What is that, by the way? What is zero net? What's the definition?
Wash them.
Well, wash loans are different. Zero net cost loan, listen carefully, is the charging and crediting of the same rate, 31 days spread apart. That's a true zero net cost loan. And by the way, many carriers say they have it. Is it current company practice or is it a contractual imperative? I live in the land of what does it say in the policy, because you know that illustrations are just, what is it? Vapor on paper, right? It has nothing to do, little to do with the contract. It's an advertisement piece of the company that might happen under current company assumptions, right? If it says I have zero net cost loans, yes, is it in the contract? Or is it just current company practice? Everybody hear the difference? Zero net cost loans. A wash loan. Everybody fine? Is this good? Is this what you want me to teach on?
Yeah.
You guys okay? You breathing? Or are you calling, texting your E&O certificate and upping it to 3 million aggregate? Wash loans. Now listen, wash loans are the charging and crediting of the same rate, generally 365 days apart.
That's a real cost.
Okay? Now, be careful, because technically, because there's a calendar time issue here, charging and crediting, that means there's a small spread, right, between the time. That means there could be a small accrual charge over years of loaning. It may not be much, but to say no cost, right, better be careful. It could maybe wind up to about 25 basis points hidden. What is a spread loan? A spread loan is the charging and crediting of a different rate, 365 days a year, and you got to add the accrual charge, which in a that loan could be 50 basis points. How many of you know that, full disclosure, I don't know about you, but anytime I have acid reflux, I drink a gallon of milk. Okay? Now, spread loans. How about this? Direct recognition loans. Anybody come from some of the venerable mutual companies maybe in the past? Well, if you have direct recognition loans, it's the charging and crediting of a different rate, spread loan, and they reduce the dividends credited to the remaining cash values. You could be paying up to 350 basis points, or 3.5% for your loan. By the way, to the consumer, does 3.5% sound like a lot?
No, but it's big.
I mean, here's my defense from a company domiciled out of Milwaukee that's been drinking Lake Michigan ever since they domiciled there. I don't want to say their name because I don't know if my E&O really covers that. Okay, I'm hoping David's does. Okay, as a W-2, not 1099. Where was I going, bro?
Direct 3.5%.
Appreciate that. I like that. So I'm looking at direct recognition loans from this company, and I said to the client, it's 3.5% charge. And you know what he said? What did he say?
Okay.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I made my mistake, but I never made it again. Next time, and every time I said 350, I went like this. It's not 3.5% interest, it's 350 basis points. The language of the fiduciary. I don't say 3.5%, the guy goes, "Oh, big whoop." I go 350 basis points. You say that doesn't matter? Yes, it does. I float with these boys, right? They take out their HP 12C. Do you ever see the little club these guys are into? Attorneys, CPAs. Who's doctor here? Okay. These guys have little HP 12Cs, right? And they're like, do you have one? Because if you do, you're in. If you're using some Texas Instrument something, you're out of here. It's that language. It's the calculated fiduciary. So from now on, you won't say 3.5, will you? What will you say? And a lot of emphasis on the
But then you have to explain to them what a basis point is.
I'd rather do that than say 3.5 and the guy goes, oh, that's a really good consumer. Right? Everybody there? And now we've added another one. Ridiculous news here.
Participate.
What did we call, what did one of us call it yesterday? Participating?
Yeah.
Was it, you said participating? Or a lot of guys go arbitrage. You know, because arbitrage is such a cool financial word, right? Because if you just say participating, they go, oh, whole life, right? So arbitrage, which is a Francais word, right? So I said, we could, talking to the client, we could use zero net cost loans, wash loans, spread loans, direct recognition loans, or we could do arbitrage. S'il vous plaît, arbitrage. Hey, listen, Axe is owned by a French company. I cut and pasted my APS response to Kathy Fell, head of all of AXA. And I went on Bing, took my thing in English, translated it into French, and sent it to her, and it went viral. Right? Speaking about somebody's blood and urine, which normally would sound pretty bad, but in Francais, man, that sounds sweet. Is this helping or hurting?
Entertainment.
It is edutainment, as it should be, as it always was meant to be. We're talking about life insurance, a very boring subject generally, right? But here's truly Steve Savant, my AKA radio name. I can't just let this thing lie down there, right? I have to elevate it, put it up where it needs to be. Yes, sir?
You know, participating loans, if you look at most times the stock market is going to go up and index you on policies, that could be a good benefit to the client, could it not?
Well, let's put it this way. Many carriers use arbitrage loans, and it can be huge if you watch it. And one of the things I like about this is not a commercial for a certain company domiciled out of Chicago whose name sounds like the song in the 60s, Lola. Okay, because I don't want to be one company over another, because then our other, our little wholesalers get like ticked off because it sounds like I printed one company, right? Over another. I'm a kinder, gentler, I'm an equal opportunity offender. Right? But this company, right, when you said that, I'm looking at the arbitrage loans, and when I see their arbitrage loans, and there's several, there's another company domiciled out of Philly that uses one of our 16th presidents as their motif. There's another company that uses a convoluted lion from a company from the Netherlands that does the same thing. There's another company, he uses a frickin' whale in the Pacific. Right? they do arbitrage. Right? Oh, wait, listen, I've done that one. I've done that one.
Monkey that drives a car.
Who says?
Monkey that drives a car.
Oh, well, no, I'm sorry. That carrier is not in our top 5. Oh, no. Listen, your arbitrage, if it's done right and we're in a hot market, you could be making 300 per base, 300, so making 3% or I'm making 3? I'm making 300 basis points on my own money. I'm the bank. I'm loaning my money from my policy and now they're paying me.
That's true.
And then we still got people going, #1 company that wrote more whole life last year in 2010, domiciled out of a company in Milwaukee, drinking from Lake Michigan. When I could be making 300 basis points on my own dough, and that's not including what I've been getting for the regular return. How cool is that? Just remember, is it current company practice or is it what? contractual guaranteed. So you gotta check it out, right? Because it may say, oh, zero net cost loans, right? It may say arbitrage loans, but is it in granite, right? You wanna know. Is this helpful, by the way?
Yeah.
If you take the tax issues and then you put the insurance issues on here, it can be powerful. If you do this wrong, they will hate our guts. Every industry magazine and trade will take us on like you cannot believe. But if you do this right, it can be powerful. Let me show you something that we do.
Hey Steve, real quick on that, the Lola company out of Chicago, is it contractual or current company practices?
That will change in September. Is that not so?
Yes.
And when that comes out in September, I
We don't have that representative here.
will... No, that's just an informed agent proxying for the person from Lola. Can you imagine all of us out here going like this? I went to the company the other day, and they said they were great and had a lot to say. It wasn't a Lola.
He did that in front of the executive team, I just want you to know.
Or I could teach it in my MBA way. Which one do you want? The street kid from Chicago? Or do you want me to change gears right now in the middle of the seminar and do it in my MBA language?
That's the
Street?
kid. That's the street kid.
Now, how many are FINRA guys in here? And how many are RIAs? And how many charge a fee? Get ready to weep. This is the take no prisoners section of mine. I don't apologize for life insurance as a supplemental income. In fact, I'm ready to take on whoever. And to show you that, what's the toughest gig I've ever done? The guy says, well, it has to be maximum security. Oh no. The no commission, pure religion, we only charge fees in Vegas 7 years ago. How did I get in front of everybody? They don't do any commissionable product whatsoever. Right? Everything's fee this, fee that, no load everything. So I get done with my pitch, right? And they have 2 microphones, left and right. And we were there for 2 hours during Q&A. It was a bloodbath. Well, I'm using the no-load company out of Iowa. I don't want to say their name either because I'm in trouble, but it starts with a big A. A scarlet letter A, by the way. They say, we're no load, no cost, no load, no comp. And that's how they go like this. Until the 10th year. Until the 10th year. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you've heard of springing forward cash values? Springing forward COIs. It explodes. And the guy says, that's the more effective. I guess if you were taking money out of a life insurance contract before the 10th year, they'd win. Right? I fully admit that. But generally, people buy life insurance or retirement plans for the what?
Long term.
Long haul. I shouldn't even be not going to stay in it for 15. So I just did their number, and I'm going to show you exactly what I showed them to stop the inquisition that I was under for an hour and a half to 2 hours. What is option A?
Level depth.
Well, too bad. How many know that we are not a standardized industry?
That's true.
I mean,
That's true.
back in the day, 10 years ago, you said option A, you said which company? Because I don't know, is it level, is it increasing? I don't know, because everybody's up there. But generally today, accepted semantics, I can't believe it. I'm not saying it's universal, but it's getting there. It's level. And option B is what?
Increase.
But what does that actually mean?
Cash value added to the death benefit.
Yes. Now, can I get more or less benefit with B?
Yes.
Well, am I getting more or less? If
Less.
I wanted,
Less
listen,
cash.
You're getting less cash, you're getting more death benefit.
we want to be, hold it, I'm doing this for a certain person in the back row from a Chicago company. You have to be compliant with TAMRA. You have to keep the policy in force for the life of the client. No. And, right, TAMRA compliant, and I have to take withdrawals to basis in the appropriate years and policy loans to gain, and I have to track that every year. By the way, next week, we're going to roll out a company who's decided to manage the withdrawals and policy loans for you and your client. You'll never have to make the call that we're doing right now. How many have been doing this for 20 years? Hey, listen, my client says, I'm ready to take my income. I have to go out and get an in-force ledger. then sign off on the withdrawal, what it is exactly to the X-ray, and then next year I have to do it again. And again, he has to check in with me every year. But starting next week, this carrier is going to roll out an auto-plated distribution. How do you like that? It's going to change the map, because usually when one carrier drops it, right, everybody follows suit. Because they don't want us micromanaging that. You don't want it. If you're going to sell supplemental income of the life insurance contract, I don't want to be sitting on the hook every single year for the rest of the guy's life, managing the withdrawals and the policy loans that will change every year. Are we all there? Are you breathing? It's you who are selling it. Are you okay with that? Or should I sing another chorus of E and E and O? Right? Right? Just saying. By the way, who lives longer? Males or females? If females live longer, what's the price tag for that? Oh yes, you may charge a lot more for being a woman with LTC and DI. You may charge her a lot more for any other morbidity product, whether it's group, medical, or individual medical. Oh yes, because usually when you cross 50, the inner workings start to have problems. But guys, on the other hand, on mortality, we die sooner. So the price tag for the COI is greater. And since 90% of all supplemental income is sold as a non-qualified contract and no tie-ins back to a corp, I can be the owner. It was my bonus I got, but I'm putting it on who? Because the spread for mother and son under the new 2001 CSO is 8 years, if you're the same age. What's the average spread for male and females in marriages now? Well, let me go this way. First marriage, pretty close. Second marriage, about a decade. Third marriage, holy mackerel, she could be my youngest daughter. Okay? That means that the cost is what? Lower. COIs, the management of COIs, I want to know what the lowest possible option be, down to the ground, female. And by the way, if we're going to hand out super preferred, how many times do the women get it more than the men? 2.5 to 1. So now that I said I put you on the female platform, I'm now, and she's super preferred, right? Can you imagine these girls? I mean, I got Wonder Woman on my mind right now. Yeah. Cape, flank, how'd you do in your pyramid? I'm super preferred. You know, I have fantasies about this. Well, don't you? Don't you think about, how many think about their business after hours? I dream about idiot issues like this. Wake up at 3 in the morning, my wife goes, stop it. I've been married for almost 37 years. Stop it. What are you doing? You're singing that stupid super preferred song.
You need a hobby, Steve.
I do. And I'm releasing, with David's permission, I'm releasing my new song, Women Live Forever and Men Just Die. And I'm not kidding you. I have a whole new song on this. Women Live Forever. You see it out on the net. Women Live Forever, Men Just Die. Right? So if I use my female at super preferred, my cost of insurance, my goal against the RIAs of the world is to beat their system. If I have a no-load Vanguard fund sitting at 60 basis points, what is the average RIA going to charge to watch that? 1 to 1.5. Split the difference. Is that fair? Is it fair? I'm asking. You're the RIA.
Yeah, 125.
125. So the total all-in internal cost, does that include trading? No. Oh no. Read your prospectus, bros. Does that include trading?
Oh no, usually it's charged from the.
All right, I'm just saying. I'm not going to put it up there. I'm just saying, does that include trading? Okay. So I'm sitting at 185. So what's my goal?
Beat the 185.
I got to beat 185 because isn't my commission already inserted inside the contract?
Yes.
So he doesn't have to pay any of that, right? Commission's already incorporated in our contracts. Hold it, let me just go this way. You guys do realize that we get commissions based on the contract target premium. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Target premium is the holy grail at Brokers Alliance. When you say commissions, just don't say commissions. Say, what's the target premium, Steve? Or you could say, s'il vous plaît, target. Do you speak target? And am I talking right with Louisiana right here? Oh, that's right. Right. Target. And by the way, we'll always tell you, if you come see Steve, these contracts are pretty even. pretty even for the client. He could go either way, they're that tight. And then once we figure out that it's that way, what am I gonna check?
Target.
Target. No, not target. Target. I'm gonna take the target, and then I'm gonna take your street comp, I'm gonna put it together and say, both even money. However, in this last case I saw, there was a case of a client, of a contract that was domiciled out of Texas, who had been in the bad boy news for the last 2 years, against another company domiciled out of New York, with a French free insurance company. And when I did them both, they were even money until we got to the target and the actual street comp that we applied to it. And the company domiciled out of Texas was higher target and higher comp. So what did we do?
Texas
Let me see.
Yeehaw.
So what I want to do is during my paying period, I want to have the lowest possible, option B, if I'm doing the best for the client, so I can defeat the IRA's internal expense load. That's my goal. Remember, I brought nothing about the tax arbitrage yet. I'm just talking about the internal expenses versus what the client's actually going to come out of pocket for. Okay? When I look at this number, here's what's happening. Option B is going up like this. I'm paying the same premium, but the option B cash is going this. The moment I hit distributions, I'm going to drop it all the way down to the corridor. It used to be like this. Now it's going to go like this. The cash is going to hug the corridor. DEFRA is going to rule this 15% corridor, and my cash is going to shoot through the roof at distributions. And nobody with a brain charges the client after we stop making premium payments. Nobody charges, so that's offline. Most of them stop paying charges for admin. That's offline. And we only pay the cost of insurance on the net number, right? Cash value subtract the death benefit. That's why it's so important to do this right. If you do it right, we will always be under 185 basis points all in. COIs, front-end charge, admin, right? And M&E if you're doing VULA. Everybody there? Yes, sir.
When you get to a distribution phase, do you go from option 2 or increasing down to option A?
I always, if I start out with option B, excellent question. If I start out with option B, do I want to stay there?
No.
Oh no. Because remember, the end game is to squeeze that corridor, so I'm dropping it down to the corridor, DEFRA, and then I'm switching it out to level, right?
Yeah.
Now, would I ever use level day one?
Yeah.
Be careful. If it's shorter than what? How many years? If it's shorter than 10-year pay, it's going to be a crapshoot. But the closer I get to, oh, it's only going to be a 5 pay, right? 6 pay, I'm doing level. The math is with the level on the shorter contribution. But 90% of everybody's going past that anyways. So option B, drop it to the DEFRA corridor, then switch it out. And by the way, all the carriers know that we're doing this now. So what you have to do is be wise. Do the minimum solve for death benefit first, option B, right? Do that first. Then go back in and plug in the physical number less the premium you paid. Because remember, the B is going to stack the premium you paid on top of it. When you do that, then as soon as you get to distributions, don't do withdrawals or arbitrage loans yet. Go ahead and take care of your business right then and there. Drop the death benefit right to the ground, switch it out, then go back in. I know you say, well, Steve, it takes me 3 phases to do this. If you want to squeeze this contract and get it below that number that you're competing against your security guys, right? You got to do what I said. And sometimes you got to go in 3 passes to get it the best you can tweak it. Now remember, in my application, in the first page where it has the little blank, does agents have anything to say? Have you ever seen that? How many never have used that in their entire career? There's a block where it says, do you have any other things you want to add? Here's Steve. I want to do this. I tell him everything I want to happen. Da-da-da-da-da. And the guy says, Steve, you didn't tell our clients, you didn't tell the client, we never got anything. Oh no, I put it in the contract. By the way, here's another word for you. Hard alliteration with attorneys works really good. Contract. Oh, you didn't tell us about that? Dude, I put it in the contract. Steve's got a saga. Joe goes, you need another space. I say, it's like this. See, back page. Steve's like, And I start out, you know, Sir Edmund Halley invented the first actuarial table in 1684. That's all true, by the way. And da-da-da, and the Social Security was on the 1948 CSO system, da-da-da-da. And I get through this 6-page doc that says, all I want you to do is switch out the option, drop it to the different quarter, and send the guy the max withdrawals until he hits basis, and then what? Go to loans. But now with arbitrage, maybe I'm not going to withdraw at all. Because I'm going to get money for my money. Why withdraw to basis? Yes, and loudly so they can hear you in the back.
When I do my contract, I do option B to age 67 retirement age, and then switch it to A. And the insurance companies always require us to send a signed illustration. And would that be the same thing what you're saying then?
I always sign the illustration because I have to or I won't get paid, but I also put the saga in the box. And on top of this, by the way, remember, you can go earlier than distributions. I'm just trying to make it easy for you today, for our teaching. Because you'll cut a quote in and you'll say, notice when Eric and Steve did this quote, I noticed that you guys dropped the death benefit 15th year, even though the policy, we're not taking distributions 20th year. If the TAMRA quarter allows me to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm just for our casual education sake today, just going through basic understanding. By the way, how you doing on this basic understanding? Is this too intense? Or is this what we need to play? Nobody's teaching life insurance for a supplemental income. I've already told you all the tax issues. Dr. Basie just got here. Too late for you to check me out. We're all sorry.
Would you believe I've called the office to check on what you said?
Oh, yes. Well, just
Hey,
watch
Doc.
the video.
It's on video.
It's on video. It's going to be viral in about 2 weeks. I'm upping my claims to about 5 million aggregate. David is doing the same up to 10. So.
Hey, Steve.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of times where you'll see that you're out of compliance if you're doing level and the premium. But if you just increase, go to option B, just 1 year, and switch it after the first year, oftentimes it doesn't even catch the quarter. So if you illustrate it, which is part of the contract, and sign it, do they have to live by that? It doesn't make sense that 1 year of option B and then leveling it out eliminates sometimes that corridor problem.
There's so many moves on the checkerboard. Once you've learned them, that's it. And that's one of the options to make it work, right? But what did I say about illustrations? Paper on paper. They make you sign it. But is that the contract? Do you know what? It's never inserted in the policy. Why does Steve use the blocks? Because that is. So I tell him everything I'm doing. Everything's in that box. And boy, have I learned to write teeny. Right? What font is that? 4. Here's Steve. I got a magnifying glass. Then I got to send it to Dr. Basie. Hey, will you sign off on this? I said, are you crazy? I don't know insurance. You know? So I want to take some questions because I think have I done my allotted time? I know, and Jessica hasn't flagged me down yet, so I'll keep going.
Steve, on this, the 185 basis points, is there a way to illustrate that out to say, look, see there?
Oh, what a great question. Can I illustrate and demonstrate my numbers? By the way, I'm going to cover my little E&O for a second, my little tush. On VUL, do you ever see the gross rate and the net rate on the top of the illustration?
Yep.
Gross rate is whatever the fund or combination of funds you're using, right? But then the net is, they took out the charge, right? We still haven't went to insurance land and taken out the charges. You realize that, right?
Sure.
Okay, I mean, it's an issue, right? So I just want to make sure. You look at the spread. You always publish the IRR on cash values. Always, always in a supplemental income. You got to do it. The spread between, right, the gross cash value and that net number, the net number shows you can see the gross. I take my total gross, I'm crediting 8, and Steve's cleaning 7, 7.25. A lot of my stuff is at 75 basis points. And by the way, can I say something that set off a firestorm in the blog? Guys, how many do index UL? Guys, I want to help you here because you're going to get in trouble. If I have 3, was there any time where we went negative on the S&P in the last decade? Is there any time in the last decade that we went negative 3 straight years in a row? 2001, 2, 3. Did the carrier ding your account because the S&P went negative any of those 3 years? Did they ding your account?
Yes,
Well, where did they?
cost of insurance.
They dung your account because there's cost of insurance, there's admin fee, policy fee, and those 3 years, most contracts don't hug the quarter like Steve does, right? Everything I've done on due diligence, when I see a contract and existing to look at and examine, are all between 400 and 500 basis points. So for 2001, 2, and 3, I'm losing 5% a year compounded 3 straight years. When you tell your client you'll never take a hit, you're going to take a hit. We indeed don't credit, we don't go negative on the crediting side, but I still got bills to pay, right? How important is what I just said? Listen, take it to the bank. You'll be the only guy in your city talking like this. And then you'll also be talking like this, Target. And you'll also be talking like this, 100 basis points, right? Contract. And how many are going to blow the $59.95 right today to buy the Hewlett-Packard 12C so you too can look like a fiduciary? You're not going to do it? I'm on my 3rd one in my career, and I'm not kidding. Pick it up. You walk into that office, you may be dumb as dirt. When you lay that 12C down, you're golden. Any other questions before we tie up? I could go on for hours, but we got other things to do. If that's it, I have my closing story. We talk about target marketing. Everybody think they know what target marketing is? I'm going to show you what target marketing is. A long time ago, there was a competition. Maybe you saw the old Robin Hood film where Errol Flynn played Robin Hood. Anybody remember the old one? For you old guys, I'm sorry, that's the best one out there. Okay? Basil Rathbone, right? Errol Flynn. And as you know, since then, England has always done the archery tournament. And that's kind of like our March Madness. And you always get down to who's the best bowman in England. They get down to 20, 10, it's down to 2 guys. They push the targets back, they shoot the arrows, and whoever emerges. Well, one day, a man emerged as the champion bowman. He got a crown of victory on his head. He was given a golden arrow, got a little peck on the cheek from a Maid Marian type gal, and he's going home through Sherwood Forest. And as he's going home, he sees a target, an arrow, in the middle of a target, dead center in a tree. And he goes, wow. And he sees another one, and another one, and another one. And as he's going through the forest, every place he looks, there's a target. And off into the distance, he sees a man with a quiver full of arrows on his backpack. And he runs up to him, and he notices he's slinging a can on his one side, part of his hand. And he goes, excuse me, sir, are you responsible for all of these bullseyes in the forest? And he goes, I am. I don't recognize you, sir, as being in the archery tournament. He says, I was not. He says, oh, sir, if you'd have been in the archery tournament, you would have won and not myself. How do you do it? He says, I'll show you. He took an arrow, pulled it out of his quiver, shot it into a tree, picked up his can of paint, and put a target around it. That's what I just did. That's what Roper's Alliance does for you. Thank you very much.